That's one. Oh, where's the other one? Share this video. Thought Bob already got on. Oh, here it is. See, and one of my monitors is smaller than the other, so the record button gets hidden. All right, finally. So let me share my screen. First of all, welcome everyone. I'm Roger Rayle. I'm Chair of CARD and Chair of Site Residents for Safe Water. And welcome to the first CARD meeting of the new year, 2026. As I mentioned earlier, it's always good to, in the upper right corner, to do your view in gallery mode so you can see all the people on the screen. And then when I go to share, then there'll be a box open up and you can expand the number of people and reduce what's being shared and vice versa with the bar. So let me go ahead and share my screen, which will be the agenda. And it takes a moment for it to go. There, you should be getting it now. So you'll see the box of people. You can grab the edge of that box of people and you can expand it out, down and out in gallery mode, which is the and then when I'm recording, sometimes I will shrink the what the view is so that we can see more details on the screen or less details if we want to have more people on the screen. So with that, I guess it's time to turn the meeting over to Jack, and he's going to first do the secretary duties of approving the minutes. So let me pull up the minutes. Go ahead, Jack.
Thank you. I assume that everybody's had an opportunity to look at the minute meeting. This is going to be a difficult night, apparently. At the minutes, are there any comments or suggestions for the minutes? Go ahead, James.
I just wanted to make a motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion on this motion? Seeing no hands, all in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Appears to have passed without dissent. Moving on, item 3 on the agenda is the U.S. EPA update. I didn't see an EPA representative.
Georgia's on here though.
I'll get to her. Um, go ahead, Georgia. I guess you're next.
Yeah, hi everyone. I don't have any particular updates for the Gelman site on the EPA's end of things or anything from our office in particular on that, but I did have some information from something that happened when the House came back into session this week that I thought this group would find at least interesting. Congress is back and is due to pass several outstanding appropriations bills before the end of the month. And yesterday, House Appropriations released the details of a bipartisan spending package, and that package includes the funding for EPA. So that package would appropriate around $8.8 billion to the EPA, which of course houses the Superfund program. And that's 4% less than what was passed last year. But the president asked for around a $4 million or $4 billion budget for the EPA. So this is a lot more than what the president wanted that budget to be. So I also have just a quick summary document that the Democratic folks on House Appropriations released to just go over some of the differences in this budget, but it is considered to be a rare active conciliation when courts sort of been struggling at all points with finding bipartisan solutions for the budget. But that was just yesterday, the 5th, that this was put out there, and the House is expected to act on it this week. So for plenty of environmental advocates, of course, they'd like to see more money go to the EPA. But again, this is $4.7 billion more than what the president wanted this budget to be. So in some ways, it is a win. And I will copy that link into the chat. Of course, analysis has yet to be done on exactly how much is being cut in a comparative sense year to year, but this is just the overarching information for anyone curious about what these specific accounts look like. So I will send that. And again, nothing particular on Gelman at this time, but just wanted to provide that update since I know folks here are obviously interested in how the EPA is funded. So wanted to get that out there.
So thank
It
you.
looks like James has a question.
Yes. Thank you, Georgia. Do you have any idea in terms of a breakdown in terms of a Superfund appropriations and how it compares to last year? Were you able to get any data related to that?
Yes, the text was released when the House Republicans and Democrats came to their agreement. So I will go find the text, which includes, of course, all of the different accounts that EPA funds, including the Superfund program. So the exact figures are in there. It's just obviously a lot longer and harder to read than the thing that I just sent, which is press release style. So I'll go get the text too and put it in the chat so that folks can see that full bill if interested.
Okay,
Thanks,
you.
Georgia.
Georgia, has there been any staffing changes since we last talked in the EPA?
Well, something that's a part of this budget discussion is how many folks were removed either voluntarily through deferred resignation or were fired or their positions were terminated in general. That came from EPA research, and that was something that I think pulled 13 or 14,000 jobs from the agency last year, which was a big part of what folks thought they would be able to spend money on in this EPA budget. There's a conversation of, have there been enough people who have departed the agency that we have some extra money to not need to make such substantial cuts. So they have been talking about a lot of the personnel that were lost in the summer of 2025, especially to EPA's research positions. We don't know. There's not really an indication that the regional offices and specifically the Superfund folks at those regional offices have been cut down so far that there's no way to work with them. EPA has really experienced quite a bit of position reduction in their research functions. So that continues to be a discussion. It was something that the president was looking to do more of in his proposal for the EPA, but wasn't really something that was promoted by either the House Republicans or Democrats. So that's not a big part of this budget for fiscal year 26. And of course, they're passing this budget really late. It was supposed to be passed in September to authorize for this fiscal year. Oh, and sorry if you can hear sirens, it's very loud outside. But this is a continuing resolution in order to fund the government for the rest of this fiscal year. And then they will be due to pass another budget by September for fiscal year 27. But again, sorry, very long and windy answer. I will get the bill text for people who are interested in diving in more.
Thank you.
And have there been any change on one time you were saying that it's hard to get information from agencies in the last year? Has that changed at all?
I wouldn't say that things have changed since the last time that we discussed this. Um, it sort of depends on what agency you are trying to contact. I personally, on the casework front, helping constituents with federal agencies, I work with the IRS a lot. And for quite some time, there were quite a few delays caused by workforce reductions in general. But at this point, because the hiring freeze was lifted, quite a few things are back up and running. So it kind of depends on what agency you're talking about. The workforce reductions have absolutely impacted the work, but at this point, Congress is, of course, really focused on how these agencies get funded. So,
All right. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. As I recall, the temporary funding bill expires at the end of January, and Congress needs to pass, 4 or 6 items before that date. What's the likelihood that that will happen?
well, it seems, without us being on appropriations in general, Congresswoman Dingell is not on that committee. It appears that this in particular is a good sign that instead of putting in poison pills and trying to force the other side to act, both political parties work together to draft this particular set of spending bills for mostly environmental agencies and other programs that are funded by the environmental agencies. So, in an environment where bipartisan issues are hard to make significant progress on, if they're in the crosshairs of the president, this, at least in the words of Democrats on the Appropriations Committee, is a good sign, perhaps for some of the other packages that have still yet to be passed and are due to be done by the end of the month. So that is not any kind of guarantee, but appropriations was able to work together on this. So, of course, it is the hope that both sides will cooperate so that the remainder of these accounts will get funded before the end of the month.
Thank you. Sounds like reason for optimism. Any other comments or questions of Georgia? I'm going to move along then. Dan, do you have anything to say about the US EPA situation?
Do you see Dan on the screen?
Oh, I thought he was here. I'm sorry. My bad. And we're going to move along. Is there anyone here from EGLE?
It shouldn't be, but
Okay.
these are outstanding issues, some of them.
And so are there any comments or questions regarding EGLE's activities? I didn't even open up their update, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I have some things in my update that I'll cover. It relates to the EGLE.
Alrighty then. Then moving along, boy, we're at a great time here. Does anyone have any old business that they want to cover at this time? Seeing no hands.
Well,
So
this first thing on here is new,
what's that?
to list all on the screen. Let me make the screen bigger so you can read it better. Um,
Oh, I'm
to
working
list
on.
all data submittals from EGLE and Gelman that are shared with stakeholders. I'll be covering that also in my update, and this will be it's kind of a I'll cover it again more in my update, but it's basically some people are getting data that some stakeholders are getting data that other stakeholders are not. And we want to make sure that CARD has copies of all the submittals that are coming from Gelman and from EGLE so that we have a more complete picture for the whole group, and rather than everybody being piecemeal and some people get the information and some people don't. So that's why I put this as the first thing.
All righty. Any questions or comments on that? Moving on to the county. Is there a county representative who has an update?
Kristen's here.
Hi there. I don't have any updates. We were just updating the website with the generic, meetings for the year. I just was wondering if there was a decision to change the cadence of the card meetings. I know there was some conversation maybe a month or two ago about doing every other month. But right now we were just going to go forward with the once a month and cancel as needed. I think that was the plan.
I think that's the better way to go because some things pop up and to have it
Okay,
scheduled and people expecting it, and then when you have to change, it's harder to change than just to cancel a meeting when we know that nothing much is happening.
great. I'll make sure that it should already be on the website, but if not, I'll make sure that gets up there tomorrow. Is there
Yeah.
anything for the county? Any questions? I don't have any other updates. This is kind of the slow time in terms of the sampling.
Yeah, I guess regarding the updates, there was at least a couple people that contacted me because the county website wasn't up to date even after the first of the year. So maybe next year, make a note to change that after the December meeting so that uh, people can anticipate when for the January meeting next time.
Yep, we'll do that. Sorry about that.
Yeah, not a problem. Thanks.
Right. Seeing no other hands here, I'm going to move on to Ann Arbor Township. Is there?
Nothing from us.
Alrighty. Well, this is moving along too fast.
Yeah, we might be get done with this in time to watch the Michigan game. There's a game at 7 o'clock, I think.
Oh, what sport?
Basketball.
Basketball, I think it's 8 o'clock, but I'm not
I understand
sure.
they're pretty good.
Yeah, they've been clobbering people.
I didn't see whether Kathy Knoll had entered the room.
Not yet.
Okay. We can come back to her at that time.
Yeah, she said she's going to be late. Is what she told you, right? So
Yep. And she also said she really didn't have any updates. There's nothing new in the township. So,
yeah, I'll cover one thing that we talked about uh, in my update.
and then Aaron, did you have anything for the city?
Hi, yeah. So the Sustainability Commission has rescheduled Chris Svoboda to come present next Tuesday. So I think we had to reschedule from the December meeting, and so or maybe the November meeting. Either way, he will be coming next week to it. Initially came up in the midst of kind of the 2025 residential well sampling and the Slauson Middle School sampling. And so he'll be kind of covering that information. And then I did reach out to commissioners if they had specific questions about Gelman. And if they do, I'll go ahead and forward that to Chris. But I think it'll be mostly focused on those two items.
So it'll just be Chris at the sustainability.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
And then and I know in the past we talked about the land use comprehensive plan. So public comment closed on that yesterday, and the Planning Commission will be discussing that tonight at 7, I believe. So you could also tune into that after this meeting, if anyone's interested.
Should we have a couple of card members at that meeting?
I believe they're still taking public comment at the end of the meeting. So I don't know if folks had a chance to review the little section on dioxin in there. There is now a mention of the plume. Yeah, that's all my updates.
Thank you so much. See, I saw a hand just a moment ago. Go ahead, Rita.
Aaron, on the Sustainability Commission meeting coming up, my understanding is that the general public can listen to the meeting but cannot present questions to the meeting to Chris. So if there are items that we wish or hope that Chris will cover in the Environmental Sustainability Commission meeting, should we send that to the commissioners? Questions or things that we think we would like to see discussed?
Yeah, I think that I'm trying to remember. Um, you could go ahead and send those to me as well because I'm the liaison. And in the past, the
Oh,
Environmental Commission had its own specific email, but right now it's just set up to send the questions directly to me. So
oh, okay.
you can go ahead and I'll forward that along to the commissioners.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And we also take public comment at the Sustainability Commission meetings, two public comments, one before kind of the meeting gets going and then one at the end as well.
Thanks.
Go ahead, James.
Thanks, Jack. And thank you, Aaron, for the information regarding the land use plan. I did find the text, and I'm glad that that's certainly in there. My concern is that's like, it's sort of like in a little balloon. Did you know, in terms of the rest of the document? On the other hand, I don't know how this is going to translate into the zoning map in terms of what will eventually be the work product that comes out of this land use plan. I think it's something that's very complicated. I personally have concerns from an environmental perspective in terms of other issues, but they're not necessarily salient to the mission of CARD. But I do think that when the zoning map comes to be drawn, that care needs to be done in terms of possible disclosures, in terms of the zoning map. I don't know how it relate in terms into the form of zoning, probably foundations if there's greater density, and in terms of other natural systems issues. In short, the too long didn't read version of my comment here, it's just I'm glad that we have language in there. We may need to work on that a little bit so that we have something strong in there when things happen. So thank you.
Okay, sure.
So those are questions and concerns that should probably go to planning staff. I think that's outside of Aaron's realm of authority. Go ahead, Vince.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks, Aaron. I'm not sure if it's been discussed, but is EGLE going to continue testing in West Park for groundwater contamination? We have a lot of houses with wet basements in that area. We're really concerned about potential contamination that may percolate into basements, or the vapor intrusion is another option. So any word on that?
I believe it is part of their surface water sampling. I want to say they have a couple of sites in West Park. I would need to take a look. I don't remember off the top of my head. The city also has some upcoming work in West Park. I'm not sure how much I'm able to share right now, but we will be doing some testing in West Park over the next couple of months, and I should have more of an update in the future.
Do you have any kind of notion what they're going to be doing for sampling?
It involves the band shell, removal of the band shell that's there. And so to do that, we need to be able to, it's quite deep. So to be able to remove it, we need to know what's there. And so I don't know the details about the sampling yet, but we're in the works of figuring out the protocol.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And thanks, Aaron, for the updates that you sent me after the last meeting on the Washington parcel, the former city site there that still has some wells that are going to be sampled going forward.
Oh, sure. Yep.
All right. Thank you again, Aaron. Moving along, the next item is Dan Bicknell, who's not here. Is that a recent document?
No.
Okay. Then I don't feel bad about moving on. So the next item is executive board members. Rita, is there any update from the Yale?
No update, sorry.
Does Yale still exist?
Yes, but they're not, they're not communicating.
Yep. Imagine.
And the main person I used to talk with has been let go
Oh, really?
because
Wow.
of funding, from
Yeah,
my understanding.
absolutely.
So,
That's sad.
yeah, she was what they call the administrator for the center.
We live in dark times. Any questions or concerns about this? Seeing none, I'm going to move on. Number two, our subcommittee still hasn't met and we don't have anything to report. Is there anything new on the polluter pays bill, James?
Not at this time.
Okay. Are there any other issues that an executive board member would like to raise at this point? Seeing none, I'm going to turn it over to the chair now.
All right, I'll get through my update as quickly as I can here. So, this is a repeat of last month. We talked about the Gelman website's been updated and they have a new interactive map that has data through 2024. Well, most of the data through 2024. So this is basically the summary from that. And here's what it looks like when you go to it. And you zoom in, and all of these, there's a key that when it's live, you can see what all these mean. These are sample points. It doesn't say until you click on it when you're working it with the application what's going on at that site, what the site's name is, and all that, what the samples are. I'll bring that up in a minute. And then, of course, there's different kinds of sample points. These are homeowner wells here, the blue with the cross the bullet target thing, and then there's some surface water sampling and all these other kinds of sampling. So that's what the interactive map looks like. It turns out that not all of the data from 2024 and before is in there. In particular, if we look at the what's on Google Earth, we see a lot of sample points that SCIO had for the last few years, and none of the SCIO data is in the Rockworks yet. And I talked to Chris about that, and it's hopefully that will be added in the near future. Maybe we'll have the 2025 data loaded along with that. But if you overlay the the Rockworks new map on top of it, you'll see that there's a lot of these blue dots that are missing where the sample for. So all of these sample points here should start showing up when that is updated. And on the other hand, there may be a few places where you see one of their, not necessarily residential wells, but other kind of sample points where we don't have that data. And that might be some 2024 data that's still hasn't been shared with us in a way that we can update Google Earth. I hope to maybe do a partial update to resolve that issue, but yeah, that's where we're at with that. And if you turn on the 3D Gelman map on this, you can see why that's important because there's this apparent high concentrations here around the Evergreen area was what probably fed into all these 4 dozen homes that were contaminated up near my house. Uh, and again, not even my house shows on this update. See, I'm right here at the corner, and it was not detect, but some of the other neighbors down this way, Peter Davis, for instance, they've never had their well tested, and because the criteria for which wells to test has been loosened in that uh, it used to be 1,000 feet, and then it's 1,000 feet only if it's a really high level, like more than one part per billion or two part per billion, something like that. They'll go out 1,000 feet. If it's somewhere between half a part per billion and one or something like that, it goes out 500 feet. And then if it's less than that, it's only 250 feet. Oh, here's Kathy coming in, so I can interrupt my presentation at this point, and Kathy can do her update. Let her get on screen first. Then I'll finish my update.
Hi, Kathy. We've been moving along rapidly through the agenda, and we've passed over you. But if you have any updates, this would be a good time to tell us.
Okay, I really don't have any updates.
Okay, that's what we thought. I will cover the Parkland Plaza
Okay.
In my updates. Let me go back.
And then I can chime in with some information on that.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I'll go back to my slides here. Kathy, what you just missed was that this is the new map from Gelman's website, and it doesn't have SIO's data on it, even though it's 2 or 3 years old. So I talked to Chris about that, and hopefully that'll be added in the near future, hopefully with the 2025 data. But you can see there's a lot of wells here that SIO tested that aren't on Gelman's map. There should be a blue dot on top of every one of these these white bullets. So that's an issue that needs to get resolved.
Okay.
Anyway, this is new. The RIDE system, which is EGLE's redevelopment, remediation redevelopment data entry system. This was the latest file that was posted. And what it is, first time we've seen this is the cost of the Rockworks project, all these maps that we've been looking at from Gelman. So there's a total budget, 647,000. They've spent almost 500,000. So that turns out to be about, if they've been working on it for 5 years, it's about $100,000 a year. And I guess one of the things that I was surprised that it was that big. I certainly haven't spent that much doing the Google Maps. Of course, then I'm not a high-paid consultant anymore. So, but the fact that they're making progress every few years, but we still don't have direct communication with the people doing it. When I was a consultant and we did work for local governments and other public sector organizations, we would take into consideration who's using the system and ask for their reviews of it and prototypes and things. Has anybody on the screen been contacted about what they like or don't like about the Rockworks project? First of all, is anybody actually using the Rockworks data? And it seems like there was a missing opportunity there for outreach by the consultant. And maybe that, of course, wasn't in the budget, but you want to, if you're a consultant, you want to make the best product available. And a lot of times it's not just talking to the officials who are paying the bills. It's the people who are actually using the product that need to have input. So that would be my contribution there, is to going forward to talk to the people that are using the system. And this not just for Rockworks, it's for any of the, like even the ride system is got some flaws in it that you can't bulk download anything if they have that. If there's two files out there with the same name, it won't let you download it. Um, glitches like that are. I would like to maybe, Jack, we should contact with Phil Roos again and see if we can get a bulk download of everything in the ride system for Gelman. There's like 11,000 files, I think, something like that. And then we could match it up with what we already have and then find the things that we don't have and fill in the gaps. So that's another wish list I have. Speaking of that, this is what we used to get. We used to get a letter like this from Sybil, email or physical copy before there was emails, and it would list all the documents for that month. We get a monthly, or sometimes it would be every 2 months, of all the documents that were submitted by Gelman or their consultants to DNR, EGLE, the DQ, MDQ, MDQE, all the different variations of DEQ at the time. And in later years, they were included as links. These originally they were paper copies. The first page would be this, and then the whole packet, which could be up to half an inch to 2 inches thick, would be all the documents. We'd get paper copies of those. And then when they started doing it electronically, then we'd get the electronic versions of it, or we'd get links to the electronic version. When those links were put together into a list, which I did when that system stopped in 2017, this is still available on the SRSW website. And you can the later ones, they have links in them, so you can click on this, you can get that, you can look at the document right there. So since 2017, we have to rely on the ride system. Well, by the way, this is what happened. The early days we got a few, then it bulked up in the middle peak here, and ever since about 2000, about year 2000, it's been steadily declining because there are fewer reports, or there were some reports that somebody didn't want to share or something like that. So uh, when we look back at this site, uh, decades from now, it's important that we have all of the information still so that going forward, those can be used as lessons of how to do things or how not to do things. So I'm going to talk about CARD as an intergovernmental entity. This is one of my first early on in my career. We did some work with Toronto, where they had regional government. So you can kind of think as maybe a county and the cities were more integrated than they are here in Michigan. There was actually statutory arrangements so that certain things were done on a regional, a larger level, and other things were done very locally. Some of that goes on with organizations to get set up, and CARD is a good example of that because CARD actually the origin of CARD really started with the Citizens Review Committee, which was set up by the DNR when they had a major permit. They would say, this is going to be of interest to the citizens. We're going to set up a Citizens Review Committee, and we're going to have meetings with them. And there are different versions of that over the early years. And that's the first meeting I went to that Dimitri's wife, Vera, nagged me into going to back in '93. And that was important because the people needed some information, and the information was not readily available. It was in paper form. And one of the first things I asked for is, where's the electronic version of this? It's obviously this data is in columns. It's on a computer someplace. Why don't we have the electronic version of this? So it took a year or two, but I got the electronic version, the first electronic database. Um, and around that time is when we also set up SRSW because we wanted to keep the community informed, but we didn't have a way to do the mailings. Not everybody had emails back then, so we wanted to actually have real mail going out, and we had to pay postage, and we had to be able to take money in, and et cetera, et cetera. And of course, about 1999, there was a permit uh, that was about to be issued, and Gelman contested the permit at the last week. It was 180 days, a long comment period. And the last week, Gelman contested that permit. But we already had SRSW set up. The city and the county couldn't respond fast enough to counter contest the permit. So SRSW did it. In fact, I think I was the individual that actually signed the contested case to counter challenge the permit. Gelman was asking that the discharge limit of partially treated dioxin be raised to 60 to 100 parts per billion going into Honey Creek. We at SRSW had a campaign, no, it's got to be less than 3. Because if you shoot for 3, uh, you probably have to go to 0 in order to make 3. That's what our thinking was at the time. We probably should have just said 0 because shortly after that, Gelman was showing that they could treat to non-detect at Evergreen anyway, whenever they wanted. So that went on, and for a while, the local governments, were working together, but only haphazardly. Then in 1999, again, when they discovered the E aquifer and wanted to do a pipeline at Evergreen, that's when the Intergovernmental Partnership Committee was set up by the city. The city wanted it to be just the local governments, but because we already had Citizen Review Committee and SRSW said, no, the citizens, knowledgeable citizens have to be part of this too. So we were allowed to join the IPC and have the IPC meetings, but they only met in response to Gelman proposals that had issues. And then in 2005, 2006, that it got to be so old, but we wanted to get ahead of the problem. So that's when CARD was formed. The county came up with the name Coalition for Action on Remediation of Dioxin. And basically, the IPC morphed into CARD, where we could have monthly meetings and quarterly technical meetings. And with then the DEQ involved. So CARD is a very important intergovernmental entity. And in my mind, it's been quite effective. Now, one of the things that makes it effective is that we have engaged people. It's usually staff people and elected officials when they are so motivated. You don't see too many elected officials on the screen right now. And that's a problem because elected officials are who sets the policies. Now, we will hand it to the elected officials at the beginning because all of the local governments passed resolutions supporting CARD, that they would be attending meetings and yada, yada, yada. So it's important that we let people know how this happened and what CARD has been able to do over the years and keep information flowing. So one of the things we have to do is have a repository of all of the institutional knowledge from all the governmental entities about the Gelman site for as long as it takes, which is going to be our lifetimes. So that's an important thing to recognize. So right now, I've been the last year or two been talking with how did we get all of the information that all the stakeholders have. Um, and these are all the players involved in the Gelman thing with this information infrastructure diagram here. And what I started to do with what I have is I made a list, like a 3-page list of the categories of information that we get. We get some things directly from Gelman. We get some things from Gelman through the DEQ, or now EGLE, and we get some information from other sources. And what I want to do is have everybody review that. And that was one of the things that back on the agenda was that what information do regularly come in, like monthly, quarterly, annually, to each governmental entity. Where does it come from, and what happens to it? How does it get indexed, and does it get shared with CARD? CARD should be the central repository. If not the repository, at least have a link. If the city has some data that only the city needs and uses regarding the Gelman site, we at least should have links to all those reports so that we can have a central index of here's all the data, here's all the reports, and here's where if you want to go to look at the original, here's where you can go. I started doing a review of what archives each governmental unit had back in 2000, but then COVID hit. And I had to quit doing that. I went to the county first and went to their basement and found the filing cabinets that had a lot of the reports. A lot of the reports were the same ones that I was getting as the receiver of monthly reports when Gelman used to send out those monthly reports. But now it's time to go back and review what each entity has. I proposed a U of M School of Information student project to help with this, but it got rejected. I don't know why it got rejected. I think it was maybe because it was too big of a project for the people that would have to administer it. And I think one way to overcome that is if we can get some funding from government stakeholders to hire students on a student project to do this. So you don't have to have permanent people. This would help coordinate everything against all of the entities without having to take time away, except for hand-holding during the review process from existing staff. Aaron and Kristen, you might want to weigh in on this idea. And if we can't get funding for students to do it, then maybe we can have card member volunteers with a process to do that for each entity to help document and index what everybody has regarding the Gelman site. And that way we'll come up with a central repository or links to repositories of what we know, because a problem like this is not going to get solved without having adequate information. And we still have not fully defined the problem enough to solve it. And that's, of course, the first step of any problem solving is to define the problem accurately. So we've got a pretty good start, but we need to tighten up our procedures so that as the decades move on, we don't lose knowledge about how this happened and how to fix it. So any questions at that point?
Hi, Roger. There was a comment early on in your session about Parkland Plaza, but it wasn't really that fleshed out. Is there anything happening with that?
That's my next thing.
Oh,
But from this point about getting the information infrastructure from all the government units, do I have anybody interested in helping with that? I mean, I'm guessing that a lot of the stuff is not indexed at the local governments. There'll be a piece here and a piece there. There'll be reports that'll have responses, response to project ideas and things, but to be able to access all of the documents and things like that, I think is beyond what most local governments routinely do. And this is a big enough issue that I think it's time that CARD be the central point for that. Anybody want to discuss this? Thumbs up, thumbs down. Rita, you're talking without having you're not muted, you're not unmuted.
I'm not saying anything mean, folks. Just feeling a little overwhelmed right now.
Hey, Roger, this is Kristen. I'm certainly interested in capturing the data. I know the county certainly has a lot of it. I guess maybe I just want to talk further about the students that you had a project proposal. Was that the archive group? Because there's an
Well,
archive group that
school.
also does something.
The archive group at School of Information.
I think it's through the School of Information. I know one of our staff met with them on health department records, but the archival group might be interested in doing something on the Gelman project. Or, we could certainly see about getting environmental health interns might be really interested in poring over it. It would take a lot of, I think it would take a lot of time to get them up to speed on what they were looking at and how to archive it. But I think it's a worthwhile project. So I don't have any time or capacity to do it, but that's not to say that it shouldn't be done and we can't figure out a way to do it.
Yeah, I think that the starting point I was going to be is just going through all the materials. How is it stored? Is it physical? Is it electronic? Is it indexed? You have an inventory of it, and then to index it and catalog it and match it up with other stakeholder data sets. So where there's overlaps, we know there's overlaps. They make sure that the document has the same name and things like that. So it's pretty routine. Imagine two libraries merging. It would be the same kind of thing that, you have two copies of that book. We only need to index one of those. And since I actually worked for the library system back when I was about to graduate as a student, rearranging 25 miles of books, I know a little bit about the issues. But once it's indexed, then of course it's a matter of being able to use the data, which a lot of times it's not in usable form. Like the data, when we first got involved, was in paper form. So you really couldn't use it. The OCRs at the time they wouldn't pay to try to OCR it back in the day. And we still get PDFs that are they're not scannable. You can't scan for anything on them. You'd have to convert it to text before you can scan it. Beth, you had your hand up.
Yeah, hi.
Tell us about yourself first, because I don't think you've been on screen here talking before.
I don't think so. I'm fairly new not to the notion of the dioxin and Plume, but new to this conversation, sort of re-entering. I went to the School of Natural Resources way back when, and I remember learning about it then. And I've had well sampling at my house. I live on Miller Road. And I'm I don't know how it happened, but I was re-alerted to this issue and have been trying to then read the gazillion resources that are out there. And I agree that it makes sense for things to be more centralized, because I don't think it's easy for someone like me who actually understands sort of the science behind it and can do research. It's still really hard to find information because there's so much on so many different sites. I have spent so much time, and it's still hard for me to figure out even like what is the testing shown at my house. Um, so I am able to help with something like that. If somebody sort of gave me some directions, I'm pretty good at research and I have some bandwidth right now. And also I have a very sort of personal stake, just that I live right over the Plume. So that's one thing. The other is that like I said, I sort of surveyed a bunch of friends, literally just sent a text and said, who knows about this? And like, do you just know it's a thing? Like you've heard the words Gelman, Plume, dioxin. And these are lots of people who lived in Ann Arbor for 10 plus years. And I would say 90% of them don't know anything about it, which is crazy. So I think it is, I agree with you. I think it's hard to access the information in a very obvious way. All of you are obviously very immersed in this and have been doing it. I don't know if all of you, it seems like you've been working on this for a long time. And there's all this history that makes it hard to kind of parse. So anyway, first thing is that I'm willing to help with that. Second is that I do think it makes sense to have some very obvious site that you could point people to where even there's a higher level history, timeline, sort of easy access to information. So again, I realize I'm sort of late in this. I don't want to impose like, here's what I think should happen at all. But it's fairly opaque to someone trying to learn more. So two things. One, I agree. And two, I'm willing to help with that. And I can talk to you, Roger, it sounds like, about that.
We'll talk afterwards about this.
Sounds
But this is the first site you should go to.
Yep, been there.
And this has links to all the other stakeholder sites.
Yes, I have also been to all of those.
And this also needs to be updated periodically. I mean, this is basically the same format that was back in the 90s, so it's kind of, old style, old school, but it's been working and it's free. It's a cool site.
It's amazing. It is an amazing resource. I think that for someone who doesn't have any environmental science background or anything, that looks intimidating, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, so, we almost need to qualify people to say, okay, what do you know, and how much can we feed you before your eyes glaze over?
Right. Like that's what I mean is by asking my friends, again, pretty highly educated people who've lived here a long time, the response was just, oh, I've heard of this thing.
Yeah.
But that's it. Not concerned, not testing, not filtering water or filtering a water with something that's totally inappropriate just because that was their gut reaction. So if I sent them to this site, I think like I dug around on the site a lot to look for things, but and like I said, I'm pretty familiar with at least what I'm looking at there. But friends who are not,
the search box helps.
Yeah,
that definitely helps.
Yeah, I mean it's an amazing resource. I can't even fathom the amount of time and energy that all of you have put into this. But if I sent my friends to this website, honestly, I think
I will talk to you afterward. And
okay.
When did you were at School of Natural Resources at U of M?
Yeah, I was there for grad school in 2021, maybe 2021.
Oh, that's pretty recent. Okay.
Oh, thanks. No, I'm sorry, not 2021, 2001.
2001.
My God.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, it wasn't recent. It was 20 years ago. Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the School of Natural Resources had a big role to play early on with the first student project that really 150-page project with graduate students with did on the Gelman thing back in '88.
And why are they not? I mean, are they worth tapping to see if there are student projects that?
Well, they got a lot of pushback from the university at that time because Gelman was giving money to the university.
Ah.
And the head of the department at that time has some stories to tell. But that's another thing, it's not just technical, it's not just legal, it's sociology and psychology and politics and money. There's an oligarchy aspect to all of this. Anyway, thanks for that. I'll contact you. I won't do it for a day or two because it turns out in 12 hours I have a kidney stone removal.
Oof.
So it's supposed to be just an outpatient, so it'll be fine.
Okay. Well,
No
yeah,
pain.
whenever. That sounds good.
So it'll be
Thanks.
later, probably next week even. We'll see.
Okay. Thank you.
Let me go back to where I was, if I can find my way back here. It'd be this one. And slideshow. So this is an ongoing project to pull everything together, index it, and go from there. Now, Vince mentioned this, and Kathy mentioned, and I talked about this. There's a parcel that's in Parkland Plaza, and it has 3 monitoring wells on it. This is the drawing for this new housing development that's going on. They obviously surveyed these, and where they show the wells, like this MW20, is 125 feet away from where Gelman says it is. And the MW38 S&D are 160 or 170 feet away. Well, that's really odd, especially considering, you know who owns this parcel? Gelman. When I looked at this and I zoomed in, I said, wait a minute, this says Gelman Sciences over here. And you look it up on the SIO website, and sure enough, Gelman owns this parcel. So it seems like if Gelman is talking to these developers and if they've seen this, wouldn't they be adjusting where the wells are to be more accurate? Because the developers come in and say, well, we want to shut down all of these wells. Can we do that? And of course, the big problem is that this MW38D is one of the higher concentrations of the Western Plume moving kind of southwest here. And here's what it was from the data that we have online. And here's the more recent data, the maximums for these years. So this is still, 5 times what the cleanup standard is. So this well should not be shut down. And just because these others are non-detect doesn't mean that someday they're going to be detect. But especially this one, this MW38D, cannot be shut down. Kathy, did you have something? Kathy Knoll, did you have something you wanted to add to this? I mean, you're saying this is not a done deal yet, and you're having to deal with rezoning or something like that. So I'll let you.
Okay, so what I told you was this is a conditional rezoning request. And the standards for the board to evaluate this are very different from those of a PUD. So this is actually on our agenda for the next meeting on Tuesday. I am told today, we had our development review team meeting, that the information that you have about Gelman owning the parcel is incorrect. And supposedly it's documented on the county website that the developer who has purchased it owns it.
Huh.
It's not Gelman,
Anymore.
according to what
Okay.
I'm told today. So
Yeah.
I haven't looked into any of this, but I'm told it's clearly documented.
Have you looked it up on the SIO website?
I have not.
That's where I found it.
Well, they told me today on the SIO website, it's consistent with the county website.
Well, then
So
maybe they changed it since I looked at it last.
maybe. When did you look at it?
Pretty recent when we were,
Okay.
first doing this
I don't know.
week
I
or
don't know
so
what
ago.
I don't know where the answer is. So
Yeah.
you said to me we need to do a site visit. And I mentioned that to um, a board member who is on the planning commission, and she said that she went out and tried to walk the site to verify the location of the wells. This was months ago.
When it was
The
no
weather was
snow,
warm,
right?
and she said that it's almost impossible to walk on the site due to the vegetation, that
Hmm.
you would need a machete to clear a path.
Oh, I have a machete.
Sure. Okay. So I don't know what's the answer here. We're going to have to talk about this further. There's information that we need to figure out. I don't know what the answers are.
Yeah, I mean, this is a key location. And if I stop my share here and go to my Google Earth, we can zoom in on where this is. So here it is. So we've got these lobes of the plume
Yeah.
going this way. And there's already been some monitoring wells shut down on the Scioto View site. Um, and even though they might have been non-detect, there's less monitoring there. And there's still homes with wells south of Liberty. So as this dioxin spreads, whatever way it spreads, either by moving with the water or by dispersion, um, it's important that we know where it's spreading and how fast and how much. It's certainly spreading here through the Saginaw Forest.
Mhm.
All
I don't
right.
have the answers right now, so I can't really say
What
what's
time's
going
the
to
meeting
happen.
Tuesday?
6 p.m. We're going to an earlier meeting format.
And of course, the sustainability meeting at the city is the same time.
I don't know.
Aaron, is that right? Uh,
Next Tuesday at 6.
yeah. So we need two volunteers, one to go to the township and one to go to the city. Vince, are you volunteering? You got your hand up.
Yeah, no, I was going to ask, how close is this contamination near the surface
Oh, it's
for those
it's
for those potentially new buildings going in, housing or whatever?
well, they have to deal with some there's some wetland type uh, things on the property. Let me go back to
Mhm.
zoom in here a little bit more. You can see there's the elevation. So I think this is the low end and this is the high end. So there's some things here. Um, so it's probably not going to get close enough to the surface to be vapor intrusion here, but we need to double check that because we look at the
Looks
wall itself.
looks pretty close to that
Yeah,
plume.
the screening on that is 70 to 80 feet below surface,
Mhm.
so that it's not likely to be a vapor intrusion issue.
Are they
But
gonna, what kind of water are they gonna get? City water?
Mhm. It's on
Yeah,
municipal water.
yeah,
yeah. So
same as the Scioto.
Mhm.
yeah,
It's going to use up capacity that these folks that are already contaminated won't be able to use if we run out of capacity. All of these 4 dozen homes here that have detectable levels of dioxin. You know, back when I was talking about this, and I should have proposed that we have some goals in mind rather than just having a goal of staying under some arbitrary limit that was based on um, Gelman's influence to get the standards weakened back in 95, even though it was retightened 2 decades later to 7.2, it's still many times what states who value water more is. If it was the EPA's guideline, it would be 0.35. So we're talking about 20 times looser than what some other states have. And I was thinking about this, we're spoiled by too much water. We have 20% of the world's fresh surface water that literally defines the shape of Michigan. And if you count the groundwater as the sixth Great Lake, we have way, way more water than anybody else, probably on the planet. And we have so much water, we have to shovel it off our roads and our driveways this time of year. That's how much water we have. But just because we have a lot doesn't mean that we're not going to run out. Chelsea, just 15 miles west of us, had a moratorium on building for more than a year because they didn't have enough water source. They had to find a place that had good water that they could get to. And finally they got one, but they're not the size of Ann Arbor. If Ann Arbor has to go to another source, it's going to be beaucoup issues because the treatment plant is set up to use mostly river water and some groundwater to warm the water in the winter. The whole infrastructure would have to be changed. And where are you going to get the water from? Are you going to get it from Lake Huron, like Detroit? Well, what happens when PFAS gets so high that all of Detroit water system is contaminated with PFAS? And do we have a treatment system that'll take out all the PFAS? That's going to happen sometime in the far future. There's a lot of short-term thinking by decision makers, and we have to respect dioxin. Dioxin doesn't care. It's going to do what it does, and we better get on the ball and do something about it. And I can only do this for another 30 years. So. We got to get some other people involved, and that's why we have to index the data, and we have to learn how to pass the know-how and understanding along to new people and go on from there. I think I'm done with my update. Let me go back to the agenda and see what else is there. I did have this thing on here, agenda organized by topic instead of stakeholder entity. And I started doing that with I mean, maybe it's fine the way it is, but as things get more complex and we get more than one jurisdiction involved with a topic, we may need to have different ways of looking at the agenda, do it by topic versus specific stakeholders. You could have a topic with stakeholders underneath it and vice versa. But we don't have to worry about that now. I'll turn it back over to Jack to wrap up.
Alrighty. Does anyone have a non-agenda item? I see no hands. I'm going to move on. I'd like to remind you that our next meeting is Tuesday, February 3rd at 6 p.m. And I look forward to seeing everyone.
And then the March meeting will be a quarterly meeting. So if not too much happens, we may end up just not doing the February 3rd, but we'll have plenty of time to worry about that. I almost thought about canceling this one because I suppose I have a good reason since I'm passing a kidney stone. And then the Dimitri fire happened, and then yada yada yada. Yeah, so thanks everybody for showing up.
Thanks, Roger, for organizing. Appreciate it.
Best
your-
wishes for your procedure.
Yeah, good luck with that. Hope it goes
Yeah,
well.
well, it's only about the sixth time that I've had one. So
Oh boy.
Thanks, Roger. Thanks, everyone.
it's not bothering me. It only bothers me the first day, and I got to get the pain pills and then it settles down and then I have to get it out. All right, take care. I'm going to stop the recording.